Well, it's Uncommon Fossil, and today continuing to talk about the rules of the Pokemon TCG, and today talking about how we win the game. Different win conditions, after all, as the title slide here says, it's all about winning. Now, that's not true. It's a game, which is two things. First and foremost, it should be about having fun, right? Have fun, that's for sure. Now, part of it is competing. That's part of the fun and all. And within that, we should be trying to win, right? I'm trying to win. My opponent's trying to win. That's part of what makes the game, that's what makes it fun. So winning is a big deal. And the basics of winning, we all know, but then there are some nuances that I don't know everyone's familiar with. So that's what we want to go over in particular. But first, we're going to start with the basics, right? We're really going to be just looking at the rule book today. So from the rule book, you can win the game in three ways. We know what these are. One, take all of your prize cards, right? When the game starts, we set aside 6 prize cards. Of course, in live, which is how we normally play, it does it automatically, but you have those 6 prizes. First player to take those 6 prizes wins the game. Second, number 2, knock out all of your opponent's Pokemon in play. If your opponent, you have to have a Pokemon in the active spot. If your active Pokemon is knocked out and you don't have any on the bench, you lose the game, or conversely, if we do that to our opponent, we win the game. And then lastly, number 3, if your opponent has no cards in their deck at the beginning of their turn, they lose or you win, right? At the beginning of your turn, you have to draw a card. It's not optional. If you can't draw a card at the start of your turn, you lose the game. So there's 3 ways to win the game. 2 of them occur at the end of your turn, or your opponent's turn, and then 1 of them is at the start of a player's turn. That is terms of drawing the card. Now, the rulebook goes on, what if both players win at the same time? And this is possible. It doesn't happen often, but it's possible. You win if you take your last prize card, or if your opponent has no bench Pokemon to replace their active Pokemon if it's knocked out or otherwise removed from play. This makes it possible for both players to win at the same time. Now, the way it's written here is odd because all it talked about is 2 ways I could win. The rules didn't actually say any way my opponent could win, but my opponent can win the same 2 ways I could win. And it's possible that either of us could have 1 or 2 of that these conditions could be met at the same time. How could that happen? It doesn't happen often, but it can. There are one of the common ways is somewhat a revenge type Pokemon, Mismagius, the stage 1 that's in standard right now, which is a fun little single prize Pokemon. It's got the spiteful magic ability. If this Pokemon has full HP and is knocked out by damage from an attack on your opponent's Pokemon, put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So boom, opponent knocks out our Mismagius. They take a prize card for that. We do 8 damage counters of their Pokemon, active Pokemon. We might knock that out for 1 or 2 prizes, and that could be our 6th prize for both of us, right? Similarly, a tool card, say like Rocky Helmet, that if the Pokemon's attached to is damaged by opponent's attack, put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So again, could knock each other out within that. So what happens then if both players win at the same time? If both players win at the same time, if this happens, you play sudden death. However, you don't necessarily play sudden death. I don't love, I'm putting the text in the order the rulebook does it. I don't like the way they organized it because it's sudden death. But wait, it might not be sudden death. If you win in both ways, your opponent wins in only one way, you are the victor. By that, what do we mean? There are 2 ways you could win that could be simultaneous. The drawing cards is the 3rd way. That doesn't happen simultaneously. That's at the start of the turn. But if I knocked out my opponent's Pokemon, they knocked my Pokemon out, I have a Pokemon to advance to the active. My opponent does not. I have 2 win conditions. I've knocked out, taken my 6 prizes. And my opponent's taken 6 prizes, so they have 1 win condition. But I've taken 6 prizes, and my opponent can't put a Pokemon in the active spot, right? They had no bench Pokemon, 2 win conditions, no Pokemon in play, and all 6 prizes. That's 2 conditions to 1 win condition. 2 win conditions wins it. Sorry for the awkward way I said it, but if you have those 2 win conditions, taking 6 prizes, and your opponent can't put a Pokemon in the active spot, you win over your opponent having 1 win condition, or conversely. So both players, quote, win at the same time doesn't necessarily lead to sudden death if one person has a 2nd win condition. But sudden death obviously can happen because both players could have 1 win condition. It's even possible that both players could have 2 win conditions. So sudden death, you play a new game, but each player uses only one prize card instead of the usual 6, except for the single prize card. Treat the sudden death game like a whole new game. You flip a coin to see who goes first and set up everything as usual. So it's a brand new game with only one prize. And this is the way Live implements it. There are, I will say, I believe in tournament settings, and I'm not talking about tournaments. There's some slightly different rules there. I believe sometimes sudden death, people set aside 6 prizes, even though I think first prize taken wins it. But I'm not going to, that's not what we're about. In just a standalone match, it's one prize gets set aside. So it goes on here. So after you flip the coin, see who goes first. The winner of the game is the overall winner. So the winner of the sudden death game wins the game. If sudden death game also ends in sudden death, ends in a tie, which it could again, you keep playing sudden death until somebody wins. I've gotten sudden death on Live a couple times, not much, I will say, but it has happened. And I've never had 2 though. One would have to really be an unusual situation, or obviously you could be playing against a friend and wanting to do that, of course, and then you'd go on as long as you want. Now, there is a 4th win condition in PTCG Live, and that's the timer. Again, tournaments have time rules. Again, not worrying about that. But playing on PTCG Live, and the same thing at PTCGO, there's an in-game timer. If your opponent's timer goes down to 0, you win the game. If your timer goes down to 0, your opponent wins the game. So that's a 4th win condition, running out of time, right? And there's a couple other cards that let you win the game and even lose the game, quite frankly. So while there's three ways to win the game in general, we now know there's a 4th because of the timer. And then there's a number of cards that have been in the game and are even in standard now that let us win the game. So Unknown V, it has the attack victory symbol for 3 colors energy. If you use the attack when you only have 1 prize card remaining, you win this game. So instant auto win. Now you have to have taken 5 prizes already. You have a V in play that you've gotten 3 energies on. You probably could win by just taking a knockout somehow at that point, because it's a lot of things to happen. But it's there. You can win the game that way, and it's very cool if it happens. You kind of just have to be trying to do it for the fun of it, because like I said, you probably can just take the 6th prize when that's the case. And there was a Slowbro previously that had the same effect, walk off homer for 3 colors energy. You can, if you use this attack when you have only 1 prize card left, you win this game. So it was in the past as well, had that ability. There also were some 3 unknowns from Lost Thunder that had abilities that let you instant win the game. The first 2 we'll talk about are actually banned and expanded, because with all the other cards and tools, trainers you have in expanded format, these things are too easy to make happen. But I'll go over them all. One of them you can still try out, though. You can even do it in live expanded beta format if you really thought you could make it work. So the first one had the damage ability. Once during a turn, if this Pokemon is in your active Pokemon and there are 66 or more damage counters on your bench Pokemon, you may use this ability. If you do, you win this game. And there was a way to kind of loop damage and just kind of get damage and kind of loop damage through a series of actions. So you could potentially do that and win the game. And obviously, you don't want to, first off, you're sitting there for a long time if you're up against this deck while your opponent does it. And, it's no fun. And just having an auto loss where you do nothing but just sit there and lose the game isn't fun. There is the hand ability on the second unknown here. Once during a turn, if this Pokemon's your active spot and you have 35 or more cards in hand, you use this ability and you win the game. So, again, difficult to do, but certainly possible and expanded with all those extra items, trainers, and Pokemon that let you do things. Then the third one, which you still can utilize, it's the missing ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon's in your active spot and your opponent has 12 or more supporter cards in the lost zone, you may use this ability. If you do, you win this game. So it's not just 12 cards in the lost zone, because then it would be very doable, and you take advantage of it, and they would have banned it. But it's your opponent has to get 12 supporter cards in the lost zone. Decks don't even necessarily play 12 supporter cards. Your opponent's not going to be lost zoning that many supporter cards. If they do, there are ways to lost zone some of your opponent's cards, but it's not easy, and it's just about undoable, I would say. So that's why they've left it and expanded. You can try it though and see if you can win a game that way. but in Pokemon also, just to be fair, they've also made a card that allows you to instantly lose the game. It's a Slowbro. We already talked about the one Slowbro with Walk Off Homer, that if you use the attack when one prize card left, you win this game. But there's a Slowbro, and this Slowbro is in the live expanded beta. You can try it out and see what happens. It has the 3 strikes attack for watercolorless, colorless, so you could use a reversal energy, for instance, to pay for it. You flip 3 coins. This attack does 100 damage for each head, so potentially 300 damage on a single prize Pokemon. And if you pay for a reversal energy, single energy attachment, a stage 1 single prize Pokemon, super awesome there. But if all of these 3 coin flips are tails, you lose the game. So 3 strikes and you are out. 3 tails, you lose the game. So if you want to just have some fun there, do that. Roll some dice. I haven't done that. I probably should go ahead and do that, and hopefully I'll get a game where I lose, because that's half the fun, right? Seeing how that goes. So instant win with some attacks or abilities, instant loss with this one attack. 3 main win conditions, and of course the timer is a 4th win condition. So besides the 3 basic ways, a number of smaller, more nuanced ways to win and lose in the Pokemon TCG. It is a game. We want to have fun, but again, we're trying to win. You got to know the rules to play. You got to know the rules to win, and particularly, you got to know all the ways you can win the game in order to make it happen. So take care, have some fun, and play some Pokemon TCG.